The VAMP was one of the original toys released in the G.I. Joe A Real American Hero toy line. The Jeep-like vehicle became a touchstone in the childhoods of many kids of the 1980s. However, most never knew that the VAMP was based on a real vehicle, a rare concept vehicle that was, believe it or not, a Lamborghini. I'll show the Lambo that Hasbro based the VAMP on in a minute, but first we need a little context to understand why using that vehicle as inspiration for their toy was such a genius move. G.I. Joe A Real American Hero was a reboot of the G.I. Joe line, returning it to its military roots after secret agent and sci-fi superhero themes in the 70s. The marketing for Real American Hero focused on the vehicles, with the action figures considered accessories for the vehicles. That's why the vehicles were so awesome. Hasbro put a lot of thought and design into them. The first year of Real American Hero, 1982, there were 3 vehicles released, all for the Joe team: a tank, a motorcycle, and the VAMP, filling the role of a Jeep. So why didn't Hasbro just use a Jeep? The Willys Jeep had been introduced in the early days of World War II, and an updated model was still the standard quarter-ton truck for the U.S. Armed Forces when Real American Hero was launched. The iconic little transport even had history with G.I. Joe. The 5-star Jeep was the very first G.I. Joe vehicle, introduced in 1965 for the original 12-inch G.I. Joe line. So, why did Hasbro use the VAMP instead of a Jeep for their new toy line? Because A Real American Hero was meant to be the elite anti-terrorist special missions force. Real American Hero was not a World War II or Vietnam toy line. It was the modern military, at least of the 1980s. And to keep up with the now, you have to look 20 minutes into the future. An interesting anecdote illustrates how the design team worked with this belief. Larry Hama, the writer of both the G.I. Joe comic book and the character file cards, was opposed to Bazooka Soldier being a military operational specialty for G.I. Joe team members. This is because, at that point in time, the bazooka was no longer used, and the Bazooka Man was a dead military specialty. The bazooka was a relic of World War II in Korea. It was already depreciated technology by the time of Vietnam, much less the Real American Hero era. That's right, Zap. You're an anachronism. So, using a Jeep for their modern military figures would be backward-looking, which brings up the question, what could replace the Jeep? Well, the Army was already working on that very question. Throughout the 70s, the Army searched for a beefier, more versatile replacement for the Jeep with the High Mobility Combat Vehicle program. This would eventually lead to the development and adaptation of the High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle, or as it's more commonly known, the Humvee. However, when Hasbro was creating the first wave of a Real American Hero product, the Humvee was still in the design phase. How could Hasbro include the next generation light military truck in their toy line when it wasn't even finalized yet? Hasbro looked to one of the earlier prototypes in the HMCV program for inspiration for their VAMP. A prototype built by Italian sports car manufacturer Lamborghini, the Lamborghini Cheetah. With the financial malaise and oil crisis of the 70s, Lamborghini was in a dire financial state. In a desperate bid for government money, Lamborghini partnered with US-based defense contractor Mobility Technology International to try for the HMCV contract in 1977. This resulted in a Lamborghini Cheetah prototype vehicle. It was an unmitigated disaster. It had an underpowered rear-mounted engine. The weight of the engine in the back made for horrible handling. Add to that the fact that the Army was not about to replace the Jeep with a foreign-made vehicle, and Lamborghini's bid was doomed from the start. But the Cheetah was a darn sexy-looking vehicle. Hasbro took the general lines of the Cheetah and replaced the rear seats with a machine gun turret, and the VAMP was born. An obscure, failed prototype became an icon to a generation of little boys. Not only was the VAMP in the first wave of a Real American Hero toys, it appeared in every imaginable type of G.I. Joe media, from the Marvel comic book and coloring books, and, of course, the blockbuster cartoon show. The VAMP body would be available throughout most of the original A Real American Hero line, being modified into the VAMP Mark II, the Cobra Stinger, the Dreadnought 4x4, the Tiger Force Tiger Stinger, and more. It would be available in gift sets and through the Flag Points mail-in promotions. And the VAMP would be re-released in G.I. Joe toy lines after the original Real American Hero line ended, including many releases in the popular 25th anniversary line. The VAMP continues to see new releases even today, with an appearance in the Smash Transformers Earth Wars mobile game as an alternate form for Autobot Hound. I suspect the VAMP isn't done yet, as it will probably have a 6-inch scale version produced for the upcoming G.I. Joe Classified 6-inch collector figure line. All of this based on a really weird Lamborghini. So, did you know about the Cheetah? Did you have the VAMP as a kid? Be sure to leave a comment below. I'm planning to do a series of these G.I. Joe history videos, along with my drawing videos and some Comicscape videos. I'm still getting used to doing voiceover and learning video editing. Plus, I was having problems with the editor I used on my first video, VSDC, and switched to Kdenlive for this one, so there's a bit of a learning curve. Go ahead and subscribe so you won't be left out of future videos. Thank you!